Hey, good morning, Rena, and happy August. Hope you had a great weekend. I know we did it around here pretty busy, which unfortunately why these are so late getting to you after the request. But it's summertime. It is what it is. So, hey, let's just jump right into it. I brought in this diagram to help with the first question. But as I'm sure that you know, when they base things on evolutionary history, it ends up being simple things evolving into complex things. Not so much that one animal changes into another, but the early animals had a few systems, and then as they advance in systems through gene mutation, through some sort of uh, you know, mutations mostly for the most part. Things just changed. They were advantageous, and so then therefore they stuck. Like the idea of going from these first three that are simply just, almost cartilage and skin. Very few. I mean, they're just like, tubes that eat, essentially. So and on, and you get into the bony systems and so on. But if you just take a look at our options, so we don't really get into things with bones, and that would include exoskeletons or endoskeletons, until kind of right in here. Okay, so based on your choices, an earlier choice possibly would be something without so much of a heavy, and I put the line too early. I should have included the line should be there as far as bony structures. Sharks obviously do have bones. It's just their skin is a little different than. So, but anyway, looking back, I mean, we've got a soft here. We've got, that's obviously exoskeleton. That's an endoskeleton, and then of course that's an endoskeleton. So really, right off the bat, that would, if you just think about it in that way, that leads us to our answer. But even if you wanted to go, take a look at each line, like the line that you chose. You've got an endoskeleton, then an exoskeleton, then an endoskeleton again. Here, an endoskeleton, exoskeleton, and then here, an exoskeleton, no skeleton so much, and then an exo. So there's lots of ways you could look at this too, but the idea of you can see, let's see, the jellyfish. I'm assuming just going to be in here somewhere, and then the reptiles, and then the mammals. So something like that is the kind of the way to approach that. But again, we can talk about that more if we need to. So looking at your other two questions that you've asked about. There we go. Get them all in here. The rhinoceros question. Oh, need my pen. The rhinoceros question. Being poached, and so simply the question is, hey, what type of diversity is being lost? And it says which one is being lost. What that really means is which one either can't happen anymore or is being reduced. Now, we'll start with the choice that you made for species diversity to be lost. Okay, that means there aren't any more. So that's almost an extinction situation, whether they die out natural causes, reproductive failures, or just simply overhunting in this case. So if we look at each of these words and then apply the word lost, that means it's not happening anymore, okay, or it's being reduced. And of course, you could say the rhinoceros are being reduced, but that's just the ones in Africa and Asia. There could be others somewhere. So the species isn't being lost. just rhinoceros in that area. But what is being in ecosystems, obviously, you're not going to lose just because of rhinoceroses. Maybe eventually, if they're the top predator or the top herbivore that controls other factors, and of course fragmented diversity, no. But what is being lost is the genetic diversity, the diversity of those rhinoceroses. Maybe they had particular mutations that were advantageous. Maybe they were homozygous dominant for things that are advantageous, but their particular traits are being lost. And so that's the way that question was wanting to look at. Not so much that the rhinoceros themselves are being lost, but what more importantly is their traits, their potential advantageous traits or potential mutations that they have that are. Okay, so the last one, an ecosystem has experienced a flood. Which type of plants would you expect to see growing first after the flood? Your choice was lichen, and I'm not sure if you understand what a lichen is or not, but this is a lichen right here. Okay, it is a not so much of a parasitic plant. It's more of a kind of a fungus type thing. So I guess you could argue that is parasitic if it's going to eat dead material, but it doesn't eat living material. It doesn't have a host. But anyway, that's a lichen right there, and you will find them on, of course, trees. And if you have to be something that grows on something else, that means you can't be first. And so this is just a succession type question. Typically after a natural disaster, the first things that are back are the small mosses, the small things like that, and then then you get the grasses, and then you get the small trees, and you get the big trees because they take longer over time. So if we were to look at this question, anything with wood would be later. So we might mark these. We'd probably say 1, 2, 3, and then your lichens would come in after the trees are established, something like that right there. But that's just a primary, secondary succession. Things that they're biology-based information, but they're typically way back at the end of a textbook. But if you'd like to talk, you want more about that, I could certainly provide more. Maybe information or just talk about it more. But that's primary, secondary succession. You would that's a topic you would if you're talking about ecosystems and stuff. But hey, that brings us to the end of our 3 questions. If you need more or would like to hear more about any of these, hey, as always, just let me know. And with that, we'll say goodbye till next time.